Welcome back to the Breeders Cup News Minute, powered by DRF Formulator. Coming up, a Formulator Fact you'll want to know. But let's start with today's developments, Ray. Across the country, lots of workouts, final breezes for the Breeders' Cup, which is only a week away, from New York to California. Let's begin with Vino Rosso, one of the classic contenders. He was at Belmont Park, 48 flat for a half mile. Then out in California, one of his rivals, War of Will. Remember him? We'll see what we get from that horse, the Preakness winner. He was at Santa Anita, so he's getting acclimated to the racetrack. He went 47-2 this morning. In Kentucky, a couple of notables. Serengeti Empress, who's aiming for the distaff, went 47-3. And Maxfield, one of the buzz horses for the Juvenile, went 47-2 for trainer Brendan Walsh. Let's talk about the Juvenile. We talked about the Juvenile fillies yesterday. How do you see this year's field?
Well, the Juvenile is part of Future Stars Friday, and Coolmore, based in Ireland, is the largest racing and breeding operation in the world. They have placed a futures bet on 8 rings. They announced today that they've purchased the breeding rights to 8 rings, son of Empire Maker, trained by Bob Baffert. He will go to Ashford Stud in Kentucky, joining American Pharoah, and justify the Triple Crown winners there. Let's hope he has a long and healthy future ahead of him. 8 rings, of course, is named after Bill Belichick for the 8 Super Bowl rings he's won. Probably the greatest coach in NFL history, wouldn't you agree?
Let's not talk about that right now. I'm going to talk about Maxfield, who's owned by Godolphin. So this is awesome. I mean, it's a heavyweight fight. Godolphin versus Coolmore in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Godolphin has won the Juvenile one time before, and it was a bomb. 2009, Vale of York at 37-1 over the synthetic track back then. But Maxfield has been very impressive, won the Breeders' Futurity. Trainer Brendan Walsh is rising stock. He's only had one starter in the Breeders' Cup. Actually, it was in the Marathon. Remember that race? That was about 6 years ago. But this guy is the real deal, Maxfield, in my opinion.
Well, there's another horse, Dennis's Moment, I think, that has a shot here, too. Dale Romans always seems to have a big 2-year-old. This horse broke his maiden at Ellis Park by the length of a pea patch. He ran away from the field, and then he won the Iroquois, I thought, very impressively at Churchill Downs. So he comes out of that race versus Grade 3 race out of the instead of the Grade 1 Futurity where he could have gone. What's missing this year out of the Juvenile field are any horses really from New York?
Interesting. Well, we do have a couple of possibles for the Juvenile from out of this country. Aidan O'Brien has one, and then there's a Japanese horse. Both of them have preference for the turf sprint, Juvenile turf sprint, so they may wind up there. But as always, there's a lot of attention paid to the Juvenile because those are not only the future stars, they're next year's Derby contenders. But our Formulator Fact relates to the Filly Mare Sprint. We're back to Simon Callahan again. We just can't keep these facts to ourselves. So here's today's fact. Past 4 years, 3-year-olds and up on the dirt going route to sprint, Callahan is 10 for 22, 45%. That's a 275 ROI as well. And the horse we're talking about, of course, is Bellafina.
Yeah, Bellafina comes out of the cotillion at Parks, a mile and a 16th race. She didn't get away very well. Made the lead, faded in the stretch. So based on the Formulator Fact, and she doesn't want to go two turns against really top class horses. She didn't do well in last year's Breeders' Cup Juvenile, didn't do well in the Kentucky Oaks, but I think she fits a lot better here at the 7 furlong distance.
Yeah, that's a very specific distance for horses. I mean, you either like it or you don't, and I have a feeling that Bellafina is going to like the 7 furlongs of the Filly Mare Sprint. There are a lot of these facts to be found, gems to be found at DRF Formulator. Check it out at drf.com/formulator. Thanks so much for joining us for this edition of the Breeders' Cup News Minute. We'll talk to you soon.